Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another episode of the strategy series, the last one right before DBS Nationals 2019. This is part 2 to stop helping your opponent beat you. I did this one a few months ago, maybe like 6 months ago at this point, and it was really popular. People really liked it. I'll link it down below so you guys can see it. It's also very relevant to watch before Nationals, so make sure you do that. But today, just want to get this video out there for you guys so you guys can have the best experience possible at Nationals. If you're trying really hard to top or win, whatever you're trying to do, I think this video can help you out a lot in terms of how to play the game the most efficiently without giving up too much to your opponent, giving them basically a free advantage over you. So before we do, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with awesome Dragon Ball Super content like this. If you guys want to plug into a Dragon Ball Super community, make sure to check out the Discord in the description below. Excellent group of people. And finally, guys, if you want to help out the channel, 2 ways you can do that. Number 1, check out the Patreon in the description below. Lots of competitive articles that are going to help you for Nationals. And finally, guys, if you want to buy any Dragon Ball Super cards, make sure to use my link to TCG Player in the description below. All that stuff helps out a lot, guys. Really appreciate each and every one of you. And this is probably going to be my last video for the week. I'm just going to give everyone Friday to kind of get settled into Nationals. I'm going to be traveling as well. So this will be the last video of the week. And then next week, I'll get you guys a bunch of deck profiles, Top Cut breakdowns from Nationals, things like that. Just a little recap. But with that being said, we'll get into this video. So last time, mostly what I talked about was giving your opponent free advantage over you. And this is going to talk about the same type of thing, but in different ways. So make sure you watch part 1. But to start this video off, I want to talk about giving your opponent free information. So you don't want to do that. Giving your opponent free information basically gives them an advantage over you. Now, of course, when you sit across from your opponent in the Dragon Ball Super card game, you each see a leader, and that gives you a decent amount of information right off the bat. But if you think about like Hirudegarn format, where you had like Hirudegarn Storm, Hirudegarn Chain Zeno, or SS3, where you had the same thing, Storm, Chain Zeno, Mono Green, whatever the case was. This format, there are some similar things. You have Shenron leader, it could be Shenjita, it could be Shenron ramp. You have Broly leader, could be Apes, could be Blue Yellow, could be a lot of different things, right? So giving your opponent that free information on what you're playing is just a disadvantage to you, right? It's something you don't want to do because it tells your opponent basically what to keep in their opening hand for their mulligans, what to charge, what cards to play for, things like that. Now, of course, your opponent is probably never going to ask you straight across from you like, oh, what variant of this deck are you playing? Are you playing Apes? Are you playing Blue Yellow? Are you playing Ramp? Are you playing Gogeta? Things like that. They're never going to directly ask you that, but one thing that actually happens a lot, and it's not always like a sly type of thing, but sometimes your opponent will come up to you, they'll sit at the table across from you at the start of the round, and they'll say, oh, how'd your last round go? How did you win? How'd you lose? Things like that. And they're just sometimes starting, kind conversation. It's really cool. Other times though, they're asking to get information out of your deck. So for example, if I'm playing Red Yellow Apes, I go, oh, well, I lost because my opponent answered my King Ape, and then I just couldn't play from there, So you immediately are telling them that you put down the Broly leader, you're playing Red Yellow Apes, and you just told them how to beat you, essentially, right? So answer the big King Ape, and you're gonna be in big trouble. So that's basically one of the things I mean when I say that when your opponent's asking you, how your previous round went, they're getting a lot of information. Now, this is not to say that like when you do sit down, you should be completely mute and silent with your opponent. You don't want to do that, but like you can go about having a nice conversation in a way where you don't give them so much information. So basically, an example, let's just say I'm still playing Red Yellow Apes. I could put my Broly leader on the table. My opponent can ask me, how'd your last round go? Why'd you lose? Why'd you win? I could be like, well, I lost a bad RNG. Like, just give a really simple answer. Or my opponent had the out, just giving them the very bare minimum information to still have a conversation. Because of course, I talked about it in a Patreon article this week, you want to immerse in the Dragon Ball Super community. You don't want to be the type of player that shuts yourself off to the community, that doesn't interact with the community. Essentially, you want to be the type of player that's really immersive, because that is really the best thing about this community is the player base itself. The people that travel to these events, they're so kind, and I think it's just because of the demographic we have. Like, we have a lot of older players that are more mature. We have a lot of players who are fed up with other card games and other communities, like Yu-Gi-Oh, speaking from personal experience. And we have a great group of people here, but the thing is, you don't want to be giving them free information because that's going to just hurt you throughout the rounds of the tournament. So that's one of the big things about giving free information. Similarly, let's say you're in the middle of a game, right? And you have a negate in your hand, and it's you're about 4 life, and your opponent's attacking with a big double striker, right? Let's just say these are the circumstances you're under. So your opponent declares an attack with their double striker. You tell them you're thinking on the response, meaning you might want to use the negate in your hand. But what you're doing here is you're basically telling your opponent you have a negate, right? So this can mean a few things. One, depending what type of negate it is, if it's time magic or if it's shocking death ball, you're basically telling your opponent you have it so they can adjust their play lines to play around it. You're also telling them that, okay, they have a negate, I have to play around the negate in general. So like if it's a sparking negate, let's just say, and they force you to tap out, your opponent will know at that point, okay, I have to force my opponent here to take a life if he wants to negate an attack. And that's still pushing a damage through in the late game, depending on if you're playing like against an aggressive deck or things like that. So doing that type of thing where you're saying, hold on, wait, I'm gonna think about this for the response, that's really gonna hurt you throughout the course of the game, because you're giving your opponent information whether you do or don't have a negate. Now what you can do to minimize this, because you can look at it from the other end of the perspective too, right? If you just immediately say no negates, don't even look at your hand, you're pretty much telling them you don't have a negate either. So if you can just streamline your responses, you can say, if you take a quick look at your hand, just look through every card once, say no negates immediately. That's going to give your opponent very little information on what you have in your hand. It's going to help you throughout the course of the tournament. Now, I know it can be a hard decision to make sometimes, especially in a crucial point in the late game, but this is where testing comes into play. If you've tested against all the popular matchups, you see what your opponent's playing, and you know, okay, this is a late game attack I don't have to stop, or they've been through like 3 super combos already, I can probably out combo this, I don't have to negate it. Now, you're not always going to be able to give a streamlined answer every single time your opponent declares an attack. Not even the best player in the game can do that, but I think there's just a difference you can make between taking 30 seconds to decide on a negate and immediately passing priority. I think you can find a happy middle ground where you're giving your opponent a little bit less information. Next up, guys, next point I want to talk about, don't preemptively take life at nationals. Always ask for combos. I know a lot of people do this, especially in the first 4 damage of the game. I declare an attack with my leader to draw a card, opponent immediately takes a damage without even asking for combos or allowing themselves to combo back. And this is like a way to skip steps in the early game. Like obviously a lot of people are going to take that early damage, so attack, take a damage, let's move on with the game. You don't really want to do that for a few reasons. You might screw your opponent over because they may have wanted to combo, let's say offensive pseudo combo or offensive combo into play, things like that. They may have wanted to do that, or they may have, even if it's a little bit later game, maybe it's like a 5 life crit situation, right? Your opponent's attacking at you with a 5 life crit, and they may want to combo into it to ensure that it goes through. Maybe they think you can somehow defend it, but if you just say no negates and immediately crit the life, they know that 1, you were just going to take the damage, they don't have to waste any more cards. 2, you might not have negates, you might not have combo power in your hand to stop things like that. That's giving your opponent a lot of information that you just don't need to give them. So always proceed through the battle fully, no negates, no counters, no combos, then go to damage. Make sure you aren't just preemptively taking life. And finally, guys, I know we are getting pretty close to Nats here, but I want to talk about practicing like you play. So you guys probably have 2 full days of playtesting left to go before National starts. Practice like you play is a very popular sports term, and what it means is if you go to practice, if any of you guys played soccer, football, basketball, you might have heard this. If you guys go to practice, you need to practice as hard as you can to perform just like you'll perform on game day. And you can apply that to playtesting as well for the Dragon Ball Super card game. Same ideas apply here. Always making sure you go through the combo phase. Attack, no counter, no combo, take the damage instead of just attack, take damage immediately, even if it's in the early turns. Making sure you playtest critically, thinking critically through your plays. Now, make sure you don't take a full minute to charge an energy. That's thinking a little bit too critically, taking a little bit too much time. But I definitely think you want to practice like you play. Make sure you're in a serious environment, even if you're playtesting with friends. Playtesting with friends the night before Nationals, super fun time. Nationals is going to be a weekend full of memories, full of good times. But guys, make sure that you are playtesting relatively seriously if you guys have the goal in mind to either win or top the event. So pretty much those are the things I wanted to talk about here. Don't give your opponent too much free information. Make sure you practice like you play. Any comments, guys, or questions, leave them down below. I will expand on any of these things. I know it's a little tough to understand sometimes in the free form, just me talking about it. So drop a comment below. I'll gladly get back to you guys, especially before Nationals. I'll get back to you guys probably today. And finally, guys, if you're at Nationals, come say hi. I want to meet every single one of you guys that loves the channel. I want to say what's up to you guys, and I want to help you guys have a great time this weekend. So with that being said, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode of the strategy series. I'll see you guys at Nationals, and best of luck to everyone participating. Guys, I don't know about you, but I am so hyped for Nationals, man. Dragon Ball Super in Chicago, deep dish pizza, team event on Friday, LCQs on Friday, main event Saturday, and just hanging out with this awesome community, man. Just want to take a couple seconds to reflect on the community and how much you guys have grown and helped me grow as a channel, as a player. You guys really all make this worth it. I'm so excited to see you guys at Nats, and we're going to have a great time, guys. So I'll see you there.